Nigeria's classrooms were built for a different era. Blackboards, rigid curriculums, and a system that often prizes memorization over mastery. But the world has changed, and fast. Our students are navigating a digital, global economy. Yet many of them are still being taught with methods rooted in the past. Today on Tasiri, we're asking, what must we do to prepare Nigerian leaders, not for yesterday's world, but for the one unfolding right before us? From curriculum reform to teacher training, from digital inclusion to creativity in the classroom, it's time to rethink, reimagine, and redesign education for the future our children actually deserve. But first, let's talk about women doing us proud and finally getting their moments at the top. Yesterday, the African champions, the Super Falcons, arrived in Abuja after completing Mission X, which was winning their 10th WAFCON title. The president, that is President Bola Tinubu, hosted them at the State House as expected and deserved. The president rolled out the red carpet, literally that is, and conferred on them national honors. Every single player and the technical team have been awarded the title of Officer of the Order of the Niger, OON. Now, they are not just champions on the pitch, they are now officially recognized national treasures. And it doesn't stop there. Each of the ladies was also gifted a 3-bedroom flat and a cash award equivalent of $100,000, with the technical team bagging $50,000 each. I mean, talk about walking into greatness and dancing your way out. The president showered the ladies with praise, pledging support for women in sports.
Grateful nation, I hereby conferred on the players the 11-man technical team with national honor of Officer of Niger. I hereby direct the allocation of 3-bedroom apartments in addition, there is a cash award of the Naira equivalent of $100,000 each.
Honestly, I want to sing Nawa Papa Bidiso. We no get another one. Nawa Papa Bidiso. Because of money. Honestly, I was so tickled. I think the joy didn't stop there. The chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum and the governor of Kwara State, Abdulrahman Abdulrazak, also announced a donation of 10 million naira to each of the players and the technical crew on behalf of the 36 states, all the governors for the 36 states. It's the kind of moment you love to see. The bigger question is, will this translate into long-term support? Or are we clapping today and forgetting the next? The Controller General of the Nigerian Customs Service, Bashir Adeniyi, had this to say on the Super Falcons victory yesterday.
It's about undying spirit of the average Nigerian. It's about not giving up, despite the adverse situations that we have. It's about believing in yourself, self-confidence. But more importantly, it's about having the right strategy for you to cope with the situation. We got the strategy right. In the first time, there was too much respect for the Moroccans. They were not putting balls into their area. And as soon as we came back in the second half with those tactical changes made, the fourth ball that went to the box resulted in the penalty. And then on, we took control of the customer game.
These guys have done Nigeria proud. If you're in charge, what will you be telling them?
Like the word for substance, I will tell them that they should not rest on their own. We've established ourselves, we've broken the records. It's only our US and Chile that comes close to us in terms of the number of continental. But they need to really do more, and go beyond Africa and show that our game has improved and we can take on the best, in the world. About the same time that the African tournament was going on, we are also watching the Euro, won the Euro, and then we saw the quality and then the technical approach to the game. So there's still a little bit of effort and improvement that we can add, quality that we can add. But what I saw in Maroc is to show that we now have.
So this particular clip has been getting a lot of reaction on our social media page, and if you didn't hear him quite clearly, what he said was, part of what he said was that the Super Falcons have shown their dominance with the 10th WAFCON title, but they must step up to win beyond Africa. We've broken the record, but they need to really do more and go beyond Africa and show that our game has improved. Lola, you were giggling before. Continue to giggle now.
You know, some people, no matter how happy you are, they'll just come and pour water out.
No, I just see that one just felt like it just poured. Because we can still talk about the technicalities of the game.
Yes.
He spoke about the fact that, it was 2-0 before we came back to win 3-2. And then he spoke about them having to come out and take dominance of the game. But at this point, sometimes, it's about reading the room. This is not the time. Let us celebrate them in totality. Today, tomorrow, we can start talking about the game. Start pointing out what they could have done better. But in this instance, let it all be celebration.
I do know how tickled I was. Like, most of the time when these girls win, they've been winning for the past 10 years. I know that there are some years that, in fact, the way they throw them to the dogs, you'll be like, are these not winners? Are they not? Is it because they're women? We've been clamoring that they should. In fact, Tolu literally said it. Maybe the president did watch a series because we said it yesterday that what are we going to do for them? A hero's welcome. That when the girls come through, roll out the drums. Let them feel like, oh, we are someone. Like me now, I know that 2 of them are my children. I'm so excited.
Which 2 are your children?
I'll choose.
Honestly, I'm actually very, very happy.
I'm so happy.
And I'm glad that finally they're getting their flowers physically, like not just by accolades. We're so proud. They're actually being celebrated and being gifted all of these great things. I'm not going to talk about the viral clip where they were asking them to kneel down. Today's not the day. Let's read the room.
Did they kneel down?
That was crazy. Yeah.
For greeting the president?
So when they were going to greet the president, you could hear someone shout, kneel down now, and then all
no, that's just a Nigerian thing. Like,
they don't tell Auntie Joshua to prostrate.
Maybe they didn't tell them, but these are
They did. You could hear them say
they are homegrown. There's hardly any, even if I'm standing before President Bola.
Anyway, if they give you all those gifts, you would.
My brother, if I was one of your mothers, do you know I would have been thinking of decorating my
So that's my other thing. So these gifts are plenty. We hear all the cash, and I really, really hope that either they have some great financial people behind them. A 3-bedroom flat is nothing to laugh about. But I also say this: I've covered Nigerian politics and things for a long time, enough to know that there have been successive, I think even Super Eagles and maybe Super Falcons again, teams that have been promised flats and things, and it has taken years. And I would love to see if it's under this Tinubu administration within the next 6 months, his promises, particularly on the flats, have come to bear. I remember something about, I think it was an estate in Abuja.
Yes, they did call it.
That took forever. Let's not be doing that. Let's not be bandwagoning on the back of their success. Then we desert them when everybody is gone, when when the spotlights and the cameras have moved on to something else, and they have to come out and protest that you promised them something. Nobody told you to promise them. Nobody told you what to promise them. If you promise, your word is your bond. And I think that fear of being, would I say, maybe not physical, but like emotionally or mentally blacklisted will make them not want to come out and talk all the time. Because normally these kind of things, if it doesn't happen in 6 months, you just start, our Baba be this, so where's our Baba is evil. Kneeling down.
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
You can put it to the Nigerian context.
It's our culture. I don't think it's anything we should feel bad about.
Did you see how she had to go back? But I also don't think absolutely it was necessary. So, in this situation, sometimes there's protocol. Protocol often will tell you, okay, you have to wait for him to extend his hand. This is what you do when they do that, And I'm in between about it. I don't think it was necessary to tell them to do that.
But actually, if they wanted, I quite agree with Tolu, because sometimes if put serious protocol, sometimes they're looking at the line of the president's height to the person. Maybe they'll tell you have to curtsy lower or something.
Yeah,
just
you could
for,
do that, but I mean, this even looks ridiculous in pictures, honestly.
Yeah, the picture of the boy with them.
Yeah,
sister, allow us to be. Please let the girls be their papa.
3-bedroom, go down flat.
$100,000 flat. My sister, all this pride. Let them say we should come and host the event. No, let me show them $10,000. I will hear.
I was saying, no, that's our culture.
No, you are going to give them a That's who we are as a people. But do you know that, of course, since this thing happened, I'm sure Nigerians have been reacting.
Of course.
Oh, Nigerians have been reacting. Even as we celebrated, I see a lot of people that are, I'll say, they just know how to pour water on, you know, something.
Sandy or Gary.
Yes, Sandy or Gary, and just say like, Abba. I've seen people writing all sorts of things. Let's look at some of the reactions that Nigerians have been, you know, sharing.
Super Falcons did a good job of Super Falcons did a good job representing Nigeria, but why is Tinubu's government or administration gifting the players $100,000 each with an added 3-bedroom flat after the entire team is to get 30% of the prize money, which was I think $1 million. So the cash gifts will be coming from taxpayer money or the one borrowed for a country that's crippling with poverty and where civil servants are struggling to make ends meet. How does that even sit well with anyone? Sorry, but this is a misuse of public funds. 150 million is too much, million naira. He will be spending close to 3 billion naira. What's with this extravagant spending? When there are millions of people out there who couldn't even feed once a day. Misplaced priorities. 20K in dollars is fair enough. It's easy to promise but difficult to fulfill. I'll save my commendation for when they receive the gifts from President Tinubu. Great gesture from the president. Indeed, the players did well in Morocco. This is not to forget the members of the backroom staff. We hope Mr. President will see to the actualization and real implementation of the promises now that Mission X is complete. Good one, but I would have hoped the head coach receives more, as this is a standard practice. Also, he impressed with his tactics when the stakes were down. What an incredible gesture by President Tinubu. The Super Falcons' historic 10th WAFCON title deserves this grand recognition. Their comeback victory is truly inspiring. It's a mixed bag, and I remember, trust me, the Super Eagles have also, that's why I was just referencing the estates in Abuja, the promises of landed property. The Super Eagles have been promised this. I don't think it's now that I want to pull the carpet out from under the Super Falcons, but I understand this sentiment. So the truth is, even the Bible says, the poor you will always have. I don't think that you should now, because someone is being celebrated and highly decorated, you will now start referring to the people, like it or not, even if they're not giving those people money. The people
actually, I just say, sometimes we can be very excessive and overly emotional in this country. These girls have been winning for the past 10 years.
So for me, it feels like this is money they should have gotten before.
So, and I know that there have been a lot of promises unkept. So if they are really doing this for them, who knows when they are going to have this kind of largesse again. And then, please allow them.
I think I'm just going to tell you guys, get used to being valued, because I think it's strange to you that they're offering that much money, because they're worth much more.
With that English, it's clear that if Nigeria wants to compete in the 21st century, we can't keep educating like it's the 20th century. So how do we redesign the system? How do we design it again? How do we prepare our children, not just to survive, but to compete and lead effectively? Up next, we have Dr. Adetola Salau, Special Advisor to the Minister of Education, STEM and Corporate Sector Engagement in Nigeria, Education Policy, Policy Experts, and Systems Thinker. Join us for a conversation on rethinking Nigeria's education for the 21st century. Honestly, this is a very important conversation you don't want to miss. We'll be right back after the break.
In a world obsessed with quick fixes and surface-level reforms, she stands as a deep thinker, a strategist, and a true believer in the power of education to shape destinies, not just of individuals, but of entire nations. She's walked the corridors of policy, taught in classrooms from Lagos to the United States, and founded an organization that's changing the way we think about learning. With a resume that spans systems thinking, science education, and innovation strategy, she doesn't just talk change, she designs it. From 2020 to 2023, she was the Senior Special Assistant on Education to the Governor of Lagos State, and from there went on to become the Special Advisor on Education Policy Formulation and Human Capital Development to the Governor of Kwara State. She is currently serving as the Special Advisor to the Minister of Education, STEM, S-T-E-M-M, will explain, and corporate sector engagement in Nigeria, where she leads national strategies to strengthen science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medical sciences education. Today on Jasiri, we sit with a powerhouse on education policy, an expert transformation architect, and someone who is passionate for the kind of classrooms that don't just prepare children to pass, but to lead, to build, and to innovate. It's time to rethink what education in Nigeria could be and what it must become. Our guest is Dr. Adetola Salau. Welcome to Adetola. I beg your pardon, Adetola Salau. Welcome to the show, Dr. Salau. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
All of that. There's much more that I left out too, because we did not have time. If we continue with it, but that just is to set the pace and let the audience know who our guest is and what this conversation is about, definitely in terms of your experience to have this conversation. So, Dr. Salau, let's start with this. Let's just lay a very quick foundation. What do you think is the biggest misconception about what education should be in Nigeria today? Because if you ask three of us, we'll likely give you three different answers on what we think education should look like in the country.
I like that. That is a very profound question. It really is. Biggest misconception. I would say our biggest misconception is the fact that we should understand that education is not what we had and is not what we think it should be. It is more about mindsets, preparing the minds of our students to be resilient. Okay, I'm going to start going on my soapbox. To be resilient, to be critical thinkers, because I was sitting down, and I think it was in the group, either in the group, yeah, I think it was in the group. Somebody had a video there, and she was British, by the way. I have to believe she was an educator too, because she was very passionate. She kept talking about how we're still using 20th century methods to teach, and yet everything has completely changed.
Yeah.
And I kept shaking my head as she was speaking. She went on a diatribe, ranting for 2 minutes in that short clip, and I just kept shaking my head. And I tell people that sitting down in the classroom is not where learning should end. Learning should be continuous. It needs to be non-stop. It needs to be integrated into our everyday, which means it's holistic. And it needs to prepare the person for life, because you're going to do life with what you learn. I mean, let's be real. You're going to do life. I mean, people tell me all the time, oh, all the things I learned when I was in school, I didn't use it.
Isosceles triangle. Pythagorean theorem.
Finding X. That has been lost for years. They're still finding it.
And I'm glad that you even went there, because my next question was going to be about the problem of our education system being heavily exam-based, right? These things we're talking about, I don't think that there's anything in school except maybe home economics. And that's, in fact, I already knew how to, thread a needle when I got into school. So it is not really as practical, right? So what are the consequences of education systems being heavily exam-based? People just study, in fact, cram to pass exams, and then after the exam, they've forgotten what they learned.
It is really, really affected us on so many deep levels, because we need thinkers who are going to solve the challenges. I don't like calling them problems. I like calling them challenges. Who are going to solve the challenges we have. And until we prepare their minds to be able to do that, we're going to have really, really serious issues. I mean, we are dealing with the consequences of those issues. So the thing is, while they're in school, the minds need to be equipped. And there are skills, and I talk about them. I'm segueing real quick into my book. I talk about them in this book that I wrote called Reimagining African Education. It's a roadmap of my experiences as an educator
as somebody who is in the field and now in the public sector, of what are the things that I've seen and learned and what are we going to do differently. And one of the things I talk about is hitting on what both of you are already addressing, which is soft skills, the skills that you're using right there in life. How do we start incorporating that into the teaching, into the learning outcomes that we're expecting from our students? Those are the things that we need to start changing. I saw examples of that when I was in the States, when I was teaching in the States. And I kept asking myself, why is it that nobody did this with me when I was in Nigeria? And I kept imagining how different I would have been if I had had those skills. I had to rethink and reimagine my own education when I first went to the States. I'm going to give you a quick example, then of course you can ask me other questions. I went into what they call an English composition class, and for the first time ever, because it never happened to me here in Nigeria, my teacher would ask us to present our papers, what we had written, to the class. And that had never happened to me. So I would sit in the back of the room, fidgeting, feeling really, really sick, and saying, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But you see, my classmates, my course mates, were used to that already. A lot of them from primary school, well, for them, elementary school, they already started doing that. Or, even if they didn't do it in elementary school, I can tell you for sure, because I taught secondary school, both what they call middle school, what we call JSS, and then I taught high school, what we call SS, senior secondary. I taught that over there. Trust me, we were making sure they were presenting, they had projects, they had things like that. I never had that. And this teacher is now asking me, in fact, I'm having a vivid recollection, and I can even see him in front of me, that teacher, with his gray hair, very old, professor. He was good. Put me on the spot, and that made me have to sit up. So what I ended up doing, which helped me, thank God for my mother, she is a professor, and she too, she's very experienced, so she quickly told me what to do. She said, go model yourself after the best student in that class. Go sit next to them, go learn from them, go see what they're doing, and quickly tap that. So I even remember the young lady's name now. Wow, I wonder what became of her. I went to go sit down next to her and just started like a sponge, absorbing what she did. And that was how I was able to start presenting. And I'm ashamed to say this, but I say it because I own up to failures, which is another thing we need to start teaching our young people to do. Accountability. Yes, accountability. And not just that, it is okay to fail.
Oh, and we need to teach our parents too.
Don't worry, I don't bother with our parents. I focus. Now I tell people, do you know what my call it, what do I call it now? My cause, my whole life's journey, my purpose is our young people. Let's leave us. So, teaching them that it's okay to fail and iterate from failure. You see that class that I mentioned, that paper that I presented, they tore me apart. Because remember, I had no experience, I didn't know how to put a paper together, and I'm sure I did a lot of copy and pasting because for me, I thought it was okay. But for them, it wasn't okay. So I think I got either a C- or a D. And I remember holding the paper like, but I thought this was good. And then, like I said, when I came back and I spoke to my mom about my experience, she said, oh no, that doesn't work here. She said, go sit down with that person. Whenever you are having group work, quickly always run, go be in that person's group, watch, learn, listen. And let me tell you, 360. I ended up getting an A in that class, but man, I paid for that A. But I'm glad I went through that experience. And like I said, to me, that's one of the things I want us to teach. Because when you're in the workplace, it's not linear. There are bumps.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they need to start learning about those bumps.
You know, it's very interesting that you're just, picking some very salient things that we need to teach our children. It's very important because, just like you rightly said, we're no longer in our parents' time, so we cannot focus on education as it was. Now I'm looking at education as it is in this present times. What are the essential skills that Nigerian students need to learn for this 21st century?
In my sleep, I can tell you them. Communication, critical thinking, creativity, who am I missing? Collaboration. I like, we call them the 4 modern skills. I'll mention them again. Collaboration, communication, creativity. What's the other one I missed now? Did I just say communication already?
You said communication.
Collaboration. Okay, collaboration. See that collaboration? We grew up thinking that you're supposed to work solo. But remember that when you're in the workplace, you work solo. No, you work in projects, you do things together and as a team, and there are things that you must achieve so that the company, so that the project, so that whatever you're doing, even if you run your business, you are not a one-man. It's you and your clients. Other people are in that value chain. You are working with people. We need to teach them about working with people. That's collaboration. Communication, being able to express. Okay.
Express,
That one.
That's why you went to that express. I could hear soprano saying, express.
What's wrong with you?
Okay, so
Please, I do interviews, and a lot of Nigerian graduates struggle to articulate. It's not just interviews. We were on talk radio for many years. I listen to Nigerians. Nigerians struggle to articulate themselves, to marshal their points, put together a marshal of points. Go from point A to point C to point B and logically. We do rigmarole, we will do roundabout. You know, okay, now what is your point?
And then we say you get the points.
No, I don't get the point. I don't get it. So you saw, communication is an issue. That articulation,
collaboration.
Do you know when those skills are supposed to now be harnessed and refined and pushed? Particularly middle school. Middle school, let me really hone in now. Middle school is from, well, in Nigeria, a lot of them live from 10 years old. So let's go 10 years old. All the way from 10 years old to 14 years old. See that key age group, that bracket? That is it right there. Once you start helping them to A, B, C, D, and then I'm able to get to Z. By the time they are young adults, my God, you will be impressed and amazed with the way they're able to put together a good argument. It's very important. It starts in the home. Sorry, parents, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you.
Please, the B part of my question because I want you to leave the B part, this part that she wants to. Because you know, I was telling them, there was a time my daughter likes to argue with me. She's at that point now. So I told her, if we're going to debate, and to go and look at your points. Don't come and just be jarring everything back together. We will sit down and you tell me why you think it is, what you think it is, who you think is involved, how you want to do it, and conclude. And I've seen a vast difference in how she. So, but Nigerian parents, they see it as interrogation, as disrespect.
It's not. It's not. You need to allow them to express themselves.
You even say to max on 1, max on 10. So your words are supposed to be limited when you talk to your parents.
No. But I'm enjoying this. I know that these are some of the things you want us to focus on because I said I wanted to know what we need to focus on. But you know, there's a different thing. Who is going to help us help them focus on this? Because there's a different, these are the book ways to go about it. Who is going to teach it to them?
That's a good point. Diane, like I said, I'm coming for parents. Parents, what do you want for your children? Think about that. So start engaging them at home. And please, like they correctly said, it's not an argument. If you don't prepare them at home, where else are they going to be prepared? Yes, a lot of the work, I'm not going to deny, and that's why I love teachers, and that's why I call them my most valuable players. But a lot of the work starts at home. So I love that you equipped her and told her, please go back and have this. Oh, you should see me and my son. We can go at it. Go back and have this, learn how to articulate and put your arguments together. It's very important. So we've done communication, collaboration. Who am I missing? Creative thinking, yes. My goodness. You see that one? We actually have that one. It just isn't celebrated and refined enough. And I say this, let me tell you why I say this. I've had so much experience running programs in wonderful places. I don't care what anybody says. Those were wonderful places. When I mean wonderful places, I'm talking rural places, in churches. So I get all the kind of children you can expect. I'm not just getting the quote-unquote, as we like to say in Nigeria, the elites. I get the spectrum.
Now they say they are Nepo babies.
Don't mind those. We love labels. I mean, let's leave labels. In those programs, when I was working with our children, I was amazed at the depth and the amount of things that our children come up with. And with things that you will never expect, things that you throw away in the house. In fact, I always do this. I always say when I come for programs, I should bring pictures that we can show up. I remember there was a program when I was still with Lagos State. The students used waste to produce houses, bags. I'm trying to remember some other things that they produce. Some of them, they even gift them to me. Oh yes, I remember another one where they made, with all the trash we had in the house, a sensor. That one I have permanently in my office. They made a sensor dustbin where you go next to it and you just do like this and it will open up on its own. You see the kind of things that our own youth can do. Just last weekend, in Kwara State, as part of my goodbye, my transitioning from that role, we had a big STEM fest, and some of the students too were exhibiting and showing us different things that they have. So that's one we don't have. My issue is how to refine and harness that one. So let's see.
That's 3 C's.
That's
now.
3 C's. Who am I missing?
Critical thinking?
No, we've done just that.
No, creativity is different from critical thinking.
Okay,
so critical thinking is the last one. Okay, that one comes back.
Excuse me, I'm on social media.
Yes,
there's a lot of lack of
that's the one I'm coming to. I'm coming to that one. And that one, sorry parents, I still come back to you again. That one, it also starts from home, and then we also go to the schools, and then let's come to the workplace too. Because all of these are all part of the ecosystem of what will bring forth these young ones. We need to start saying, question. Yes, I know that's another one that's big for us. We don't encourage our young people to question. Please let them question. I remember, and I'm bringing this back home now, then of course you start coming after me. I remember when I relocated back to Nigeria, and I brought all these people to come work with my son, music teacher, math teacher, science teacher. They were all working with him at home. And he's a very curious person. Why? Look, I'm a scientist. I'm an engineer. Even me, my son used to wear me out. I'd be like, oh my God. But I never stopped him. Unfortunately for us, my mom is a scientist. In fact, I talk about how fantastic and how brilliant she is in this, my memoir. She will always never ever stop him and say, oh, that is such a ridiculous question. If she couldn't answer it, she's looking for an encyclopedia. Unfortunately, by then, Google has already come out. So she'll say, okay, she's not, tech savviness, that's one of her shortcomings. But she'll say, okay, I have data on my phone. Oh, yeah, let's go and look for the answer for this. And then, no matter what the answer was, she never always accepted the answers as verbatim. She would say, because remember, as scientists, we always want various sources. Yeah. She would say, oh yeah, let's go and check another one. Let's go and check another one. And then let's, go through this. Let's decipher. Are we sure about the veracity of what this one is saying? Can you imagine? At that age, she was already teaching him to question. So now he already has that in his mind, that I don't care whatever this site says. Even if it's CNN, I should go back and keep looking at multiple sources. Yes. So she already imbibed this in him. And I also imbibe this in him. This is something that has to start at home, and we have to continue to do that in the classrooms. Yes, I know. Social media, please. let's
look at some, because you've laid out something that's really quite important. And I like the fact that you've also connected the work you've done from Lagos State to Kwara, and now you're on the national level. So we're expecting to see some influence in national policy, which is a lot of burden.
Do we have wood? Do we have wood? In America, they say knock on wood.
Knock on wood, right? Okay, so in terms of that, because when you look at Nigeria's education ecosystem, we'll hear all these fantastic launching of this project, commemoration of this project, but it always seems like it stops here. It doesn't get to the rural levels, to the rural areas. And it often sometimes seems that there's a misalignment of policies or priorities, or just the fact that even if it's well-intentioned, it doesn't end up at the end of the day translating to success on the ground. Why do you think that is? What are the missing puzzle pieces in that situation?
Can I say one word? Teachers. Teachers are the people who are facilitators to this knowledge, to you understanding. Teachers are this cup. If the teachers don't have that content in here, where are they going to pour out from? So it's the teachers, they're the biggest piece of that puzzle. And that's why I am so happy. I believe it was either Friday or yesterday, I saw in the news that my now boss, the Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Alausa, announced that there's going to be really intentional working with the teachers, and also weeding out teachers who are not qualified, as well as how do we boost those teachers, their qualifications, their capacities. It's teachers. It really comes down to teachers. If I distill everything that I've written about in these 2 books, and remember, 2 books, not one.
Not even 2 books. She's actually written 12 books. Yes, okay.
Yes. These are latest. Yes. If I distill everything, it will still be that one word. Teachers. Teachers are the most important part. I tell everyone, everywhere I go to go and speak all the time, I say, if you close your eyes when you're 70 or 80, by God's grace, and you start reflecting back on your life, you won't think about your tailor. You won't think, maybe your doctor, but that's really rare. I don't really think you think about your doctor. But you know the people you start thinking about, if you are going to really come down to 3 or 5 people who made a huge difference in your life, positively or negatively, a teacher will be there.
Because as you're talking, I can remember like three teachers that their classes stuck out to me in high school.
Because I know what I'm saying. It always comes down to teachers. So it's very important that these teachers are carried along. They are a middle part of everything we're doing. Whenever I'm doing programs, I don't just go into the programs. I always make sure we start with the programs. We had a STEAM festival, like I said, on Saturday in Kwara State. We could have just done that. It was a nice, elaborate program, people coming to do AI, the children carrying out all these activities. It was beautiful, wonderful. We could have just done that. And that in itself is amazing because you open the minds of the teachers and the students. But guess what? In order for this to become a mainstay, there has to be some introduction. Because I say introduction, we just did 1 day. It's actually more than 1 day. To me, programs like this should be 3 months, 6 months, so that it's sustained, they really get it, and they're able to make mistakes and say, no, let's do this, let's do that. We had a 1-day training with the teachers and the students. I mean, the students was nice. But let me tell you, the most important part of what we did was on Thursday last week. It was those teachers. That student is going to leave that classroom. Yeah. And he will go to maybe, let's say some of them were in junior secondary, go to senior secondary, hopefully go to tertiary. That's it. But you see that teacher,
so many people will pass through the classroom.
Even that 1 year, okay, this year now was 2025. In September, she or he is going to go into the classroom. And guess what? This classroom that at least minimum 200 students. Multiply that over the years. I say minimum because a lot of them is more than 200. Yeah. A lot of them, they're not just teaching one arm. They're teaching SS1, they're teaching SS2, they're teaching
So I need to ask you quickly, because we have this conversation. Do you think there's too much focus on tertiary education? Because when you look at some of the stats we've seen, I think we talked about, a number, over 50% of 7 to 14-year-olds have bad literacy, numeracy, and reading skills in Nigeria. But these are still the kids expected to memorize and pass exams and somehow find their way to tertiary institutions. Is there a lopsided focus on tertiary institutions when we should try to guarantee that more Nigerian kids are passing through all the way to SS3, they finish and there's a minimum level. So it's almost like, say, at least every Nigerian child graduates with a high school diploma and there's a minimum standard of education. Because not everybody is going to go to tertiary school, tertiary institutions. Not everybody is going to follow that educational path. Is there too much of a lopsided focus on tertiary education when we're missing the foundation?
I think, first of all, let me refine tertiary education too. Okay. We think of tertiary education as just universities and the polytechnics. I want us to expand tertiary education to be the polytechnics, the universities, technical colleges. I want us to expand it to different ways that they're able to equip themselves for life. I want us to start with that. That's one. And then, yes, the background, the foundation. Oh my God, the foundation is important. I mean, I'm a teacher. I like to use analogies. I think of a house. If I don't have a foundation, a solid foundation, I can't keep building on that. Everything else is going to fall apart. The walls are going to fall apart. The ceiling, I mean, are you even really going to get to the ceiling? So yes, there needs to be that's why I said I'm happy that there's this focus now with us on these teachers being equipped, being strong. The foundation needs to be very strong. And our students being numeracy literate and being able to be, oh my God, verbally literate is key. It's key. But it's even beyond that. We just talked about also be able to think. It's really, really key. So yes, the foundation is important. But please, when we're thinking tertiary, I really would like for us to expand that scope. Okay, scope, that's the word I was looking for. To expand it. It's not everybody that's going to go to the university. In fact, if somebody tells me that they finished secondary school and they say, you know what, I want to take some courses, I want to go and gain experience, I will actually encourage them because you're immediately going in there, you're digging in deep, you're getting experience that you could say, you know what, this is what I want to go and do. Yeah. So why not? It's not necessary. Well, in my perspective, it's not necessary. But I don't want us to throw the baby out of the bathwater either. You see those tertiary institutions, the magic happens there too, particularly research. And I am a big proponent of that. I'm somebody who has also gone through that process. There's amazing things. In fact, a lot of the things that you and I are using right now, see these phones, the internet, it's at the universities. They're the product of research at these universities.
The university labs.
Yes. So I want us to not totally also ignore that, please. It had a major, in fact, those are areas that we've been neglecting, unfortunately. here in Nigeria. And I'm going to be talking about that a lot more as I enter into my role, that we need to start talking about research, innovation in those places, in those centers.
I keep looking at Dr. Salau and I'm thinking about our curriculum. You know, we've had one of our guests, Dr. Isa, when she talked curriculum, I have goosebumps all over me. And I'm wondering that for this new generation and equipping them, should there not be a overhaul of our curriculum as it is and incorporate maybe newer things? A lot of students, a lot of schools will tell me that, oh, they do a bit of skills acquisition, maybe they've added technical, home economics, photography. I'm finding out that some of these things are just said by mouth. By practice, it's not every school that does some of those skill acquisition that would expect the children to have more skills beyond just basic education. Is it not time for us to begin to expand our curriculum a little? At least we say we're following the British curriculum. So, but how many years? Even you say 1999 Constitution as amended.
So what is
our curriculum as amended? Because we can't keep teaching the children. The disparity between a private school, Montessori class, and a regular primary school is wide. Here we're memorizing. There, Montessori, they are using blocks and things to find stuff. So how do we merge these things? We need to talk curriculum. Don't you think that we need to do something like, from the scratch to build this new generation, 21st century children? They are like AI robots. And we need to feed them with the right
AI robots.
Digital natives. We need to feed them.
Digital natives, that's what we call them.
Digital natives. We need to feed them with what they know and recognize so that they can be able to build on it.
Okay, let me first of all address curriculum. Curriculum is the work of an agency under the Federal Ministry of Education called NERDC. And yes, there has been a lot of work. They're already working. I can attest to this because when I was in Lagos State, we engaged with them and we worked with them. There has been work around that, and there continues to be work around that. It's quite a huge task. In fact, that's my expertise too, is curriculum. My PhD is in curriculum, instruction, and the science of learning. So trust me, I know. It's a lot of work. It's quite intensive work. And it still comes back to teachers. You see, I told you, anyhow you go, you go left, you go right, you go middle, it's still them. When we were in Lagos State, we redid what all the schools use, both the public and private schools use. And if you ask your teachers in any of these schools that what is the guide that they use when they're teaching the students, it's called a scheme of work. The scheme of work is, this is the topic, these are the learning objectives you want to have the students be able to come out with. And then, hopefully, if you are somebody if you make sure that it's done really right, which we did in Lagos, you now ask what kind of activities will be centered around that topic. And then we went beyond that. Like you correctly said, the way things are now, and it's going to continue to be, is we need to build those 4 skills that we had mentioned earlier. Yeah. So we now expanded the columns to say there's a column for skills. What kind of skills do we want to exhibit with this topic? Let me give an example. Remember I said I'm a teacher, so I'm very, very hands-on. I used to teach mathematics in JSS and senior secondary when I was in the States. Whenever I walk around, the first people I go to meet are always the science teachers, mathematics and the science teachers. Let's say we're teaching, my favorite, let's say we're teaching quadratic equation. That's the topic. Learning objectives, students to be able to use, because quadratic equation, there's so many different areas. So let me just stick with completing the square. I know, I've gone over your heads right now. Don't worry. Let's say that was my objective. Now, what skill do I want my students to exhibit while they're doing it? What activities could I use? I could use activities, for me, I like bringing things to the real world. I could use activities of what is it like to factor things, and how do you factor them? Do you look at different examples I could use in the classroom for the student to show me how do you factor things. For example, these 2 books, what are the things that bring them in common? What are the things different from them? Factoring, that's what factoring is. We can do that and discuss that right there. And then one of the skills I can have them quickly exhibit right there is communication. I could have them do brief presentations to explain to the class their thinking around that.
And how they write
and
about
then
it, yeah.
collaboration, they work in groups to think about factoring. You see right there, 2 skills are going to be exhibited right there. Then we also had a column for resources online, which took a lot of time, by the way, for us to do this. Resources online, you could go learn more about how to bring this home for your students, how they could really grasp and, do you see right there? We did that. My desire and my hope is that other states will copy this.
Because education at the end is at the states level.
Yes, that they will copy what we did in Lagos, and then NERDC too, because they were our partners when we did this in Lagos State, that they will say, wow, this is nice, how can we do this? I know Edo State also did a lot of work around this. The commissioner they had, my gosh, she was fantastic. Oh, I remember her. I met her in, I think it was 21 or 22 at Abuja when we had one program. And you know how you were talking about this other person, just sitting down next to her for 5 minutes, I was like, oh yes, this one, she got it. So yes, when we were doing this work in Lagos with my commissioner then, another really good person too, I'm talking not good, great person, Mrs. Adefisayo, she too was fantastic.
Oh, we've had her.
Yes, she's fantastic, yes. When we were doing that work around the curriculum, the scheme of work in Lagos, my God, it was encompassing, but I'm so happy that Governor Sanwo-Olu understood how important it was and gave us the resources and allowed us to push it and drive it. Like I said, my prayer now is NERDC will say, Lagos, you're able to do this. Oh yeah, other states, come let us start looking at this and seeing what to do. So curriculum is your foundation. I think she said that to your other visitor, right?
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
So, I mean, these are amazing women that you've mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't help but wonder, the fact remains that Nigeria's future will be built on innovation, but we cannot afford to leave half the population behind. Girls remain vastly underrepresented in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and that's not because they lack potential, right, but because the system often fails to see it. And we cannot have a guest like Dr. Salau and not touch on breaking barriers and unlocking the brilliance of Nigeria's girls on STEM. So Dr. Salau, you have done remarkable work advocating for girls in STEM, right, over the years. Why is this still such an uphill battle in Nigeria in 2020?
She said she wants to pack her books and go. Why are you packing and going? Why?
Yeah. Why is this such a problem? Why is this such... No, I said I don't like that word problem. Why is this such a challenge? Yes, guys. Yeah, you get it. Why is this such a challenge? Mindset. One of the books I wrote previously was called Re-Engineering Minds. There's a reason I wrote that book, is the minds. When I was in secondary school, we had teachers who come in there and tell us, why are you bothering to do? Because I was going to go and get married. Yes, you're going to get married and have children. What's the point? Why are you bothering yourself with this? And then also putting in your minds that you're inferior. And the sad thing is that I want to burst our bubbles. It's not only in this clime, it's also in the West. It's just that in the West, they're still fighting. There have been a lot of strides. But unfortunately, I feel like they're also regressing a little bit in the West. But let's not go there. We're focusing on Nigeria today. Mindsets. Until we make our teachers, our people who are stakeholders, these different stakeholders, understand that it's very important for us to equip these young women. Because if you don't, now I'm even going beyond their minds and all that. Please, let me talk money. Money is something that all of us respect and understand. By us marginalizing these young women, by us marginalizing half, because that's what women are. We are half the population, as you brought up to us. We are shortchanging ourselves. The economic viability, the economic contribution of those women, what they could bring to the marketplace, what they could bring to all of us, we're depriving of our society of that. I was speaking at, it was even this my STEAM festival, and the training program we had. And then even before that, whenever I get a chance, I always speak about this. So many women have made so many innovations that have changed our lives. GPS, in fact, I don't know about you guys, me, I'm always getting lost going anywhere. In fact, let me tell you, when I was coming here, we had to be, So imagine, that was a woman that invented and put it together, GPS. I can keep naming so many other things. Kevlar, what we use for bulletproof, it was a woman. Do you want me to keep going on? I can keep going on. Imagine if we didn't have, DNA that we're all talking about all the time that is helping us now with medical strides. A huge part of it was a woman too that helped with that, yes, Rosalind. So imagine if the those places where those environments where those women were, they shut those women down. They didn't allow those women to contribute that. That means those things that I'm mentioning, we will not utilize them. Yes. Yeah. So I keep asking myself, by us shortchanging our women here, what are the things that we're depriving
ourselves and our society?
Yeah. So I want us to stay with that. I don't want to go into the whole equal. I try and stay away from that, because my own focus is we all bring wonderful things to the table.
Yeah.
We all blend and bring each other's lives well. And I tell people there's no one feminine way of thinking or male way of thinking. They always say, oh, okay, this one is male, this is a masculine way, this is a feminine way. What was it? Women are too emotional. I say, please, please, no, I hate that. That's one. Sorry, I have to use the word hate. I hate that, because men have emotions too. Men also process.
Emotions are not gendered.
Yes.
Yeah. Dr. Salau, we have to stop here. They're even playing the music for us, but it's just such a fascinating conversation to open our minds, from rethinking what our children learn to imagining how our systems deliver that learning and boldly insisting that Nigerian girls have a place at the forefront of innovation. Dr. Adetola Salau reminds us that education is not just policy, it's also purpose. And we hope that we've given you some purpose in finding out what you can do to help your children's education at home. You heard, it's not just me. We need to change the way we raise our children to also prepare them for a new future and a new world. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye for now.